Good morning, San Antonio. Bienvenidos a Plática Política. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Saturday morning. Election day is Tuesday, March 3rd. So we've got some folks that want your vote. So stay tuned, join us, because we're talking to Oscar Salinas, who's running for district attorney. We've got Melina Espiritu Azocar from the Northside American Federation of Teachers. They have gotten involved and are supporting candidates running in this election. So we're going to hear from her about some of the races that are important to our union brothers and sisters. Also joining us at the top of the hour is none other than State Representative James Talarico, who's talking about his bid for United States Senate. So stay tuned. We're going to have a fabulous show this morning.
Está sintonizado. You are listening to Plática Política. We're live on KEDA Radio Jalapeño 99.9 FM and 1540 AM and on Facebook Live.
With us this morning is Oscar Salinas. He is running for district attorney. How are you doing, Oscar?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good. Good. How is this race treating you?
You know, it's been treating me pretty good. I feel good, as good as someone can with 8 people in the race. And so, like I told you, if everyone that votes for me told me, I should have about 54 votes right now. I got a tally going.
Hey, you're walking in ahead of the game. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, tell me, Oscar, district attorney. First of all, what is a district attorney?
So, district attorney is the top law enforcement officer in our county. We are not an investigatory agency, so we're not a police force or anything like that. But what we are is we take cases from our local law enforcement. We determine whether we can prove those cases beyond a reasonable doubt. And if it's a misdemeanor, we file an information. If it's a felony, we seek an indictment and we take it to trial and we make sure that we get the outcome that justice deserves.
Why run for this seat now?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I'm 37 years old, and it's one of those things that I've always wanted to do. And what I'll tell you is that on the 4th floor of our district attorney's office, there's this wall of all the old DAs going back to 1865.
Wow.
And it's interesting because, you know, what I do sometimes is I research what the issues were of each and every DA's time all the way back to the 1860s. And you know, we had a cattle rustling problem in the 1912s. We had the Depression in the 30s. And, you know, each DA goes through its own unique set of issues and facts of the time. And, you know, ours right now is an expanding population with limited resources. And how best can we make sure that we're doing the best thing that we can in the DA's office? And so, you know, when Joe decided to not seek re-election and Ron Runhell was looking to run and then decided ultimately not to, you know, I had a bunch of friends and people who were close to me encouraging me to do this at this time. And ultimately, it took me a while to come around to it. And I'll tell you a quick story about myself. And I've said it before in other interviews. But, you know, my grandfather, he crossed the river when he was 16. And he came over. He used to tell us a story all the time that he came over with just 2 shirts, 2 pants, and 2 watermelons. And, you know, that's ultimately the reason why I'm able to have this conversation with you. You know, eventually I go to law school. I go to the University of Texas. And, you know, I had all these great experiences in my life, all because, you know, he looked at a river and said, there's something more for me and my family if I cross this, right? Yeah. And so when all these people were encouraging me this, and I keep, you know, I was telling myself, well, maybe I'll wait, you know, 10 years, 12 years, you know, closer to the 50 mark. I thought about him. He's passed. And I thought about him. And I thought, well, if I don't do this now, right, is that me looking at that river and saying, nah, maybe next year, maybe next time.
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, I'm doing it, you know, for him, for the people that are encouraging of me. And so it's now is the right time. You know, I'm in the courts. I understand what's needed in the office. I have that unique perspective and hope to make the office the best that it can, you know, not only for me and my family, but for everyone. So
that's interesting. You know, opportunity here in the United States is one that we take for granted. You know, for those of us that were born here, you know, I'm a 4th generation Texan. It's easy to look at the United States and say, oh, well, this is just, I'm entitled to this, right? I'm entitled to the American dream and everything that comes here. But we don't realize that there are people who have made the ultimate sacrifice and have chosen to come to this country in order to build a better life for themselves. And because of that, people like you exist. You got to be an attorney. You've gotten to be a prosecutor. You've gotten to do all that. So I think that's a really important story to tell, and it's an important, I think, moment to recognize, right, in our personal histories. Oscar, what does you as a district attorney look like? What does that look like walking in day one, your first 100 days, that kind of stuff?
One of the things that we have to do is we have to mend our relationship with law enforcement, right? And we need someone who can communicate, with all the different law enforcement agencies that bring us cases in our county. The reality is that, you go into the district attorney's office and there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with policies and sort of decisions that are made, and that's okay. The job of the district attorney is not to make people happy, but is to do the right thing on each and every case. We also need to establish a training program for our new prosecutors. We have a high turnover rate, and it's because a lot of people just don't feel comfortable coming straight out of law school and starting to try, difficult cases.
Sure.
We need to get that done and squared away pretty quick. We also need to understand that what our role is to pursue cases that we can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And if we can't, we need to reject those cases. And instead of focusing on kind of like a numbers game or anything like that, we need to understand that we are a county of limited resources, and that is growing. I mean, in the past 12 years, our county has grown 27%. And so that's a lot more cases. We haven't added a district court or a county court in that time. And so because of that, we need to manage our resources more effectively. So I think what's key is we need to have communication with all our law enforcement agencies. We need to have communication with each and every prosecutor and staff member that's in the office. And we need to also make sure that we are showing the public that we are contacting our complainants and kind of showing those metrics. And that if we don't have that type of cooperation, then we need to move on to the cases where we do have the cooperation.
All right, we're talking to Oscar Salinas, who's running for district attorney. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back. We want to learn more about your policies and what it is that you bring to the table, Oscar. You're listening to Plática Política. We'll be right back.
People, it is time.
Please go vote.
It's time to go vote.
Everybody has to get out to vote.
So make sure you get out and vote.
So get out and vote.
It is so pivotal that you get out to vote right now.
Make sure that you tell your friends, your family,
Your neighbors, your coworkers.
Bring your sisters, bring everybody and go out and vote today.
This is our business. We take our community back one vote at a time, one election at a time. It's up to us in Bexar County. Let's do this.
And we're back. We're talking to Oscar Salinas, who wants to be your next district attorney. There's 8 candidates running in the Democratic primary alone. Right now, the polls are open. Well, I should say the polls have been open, and Election Day is on Tuesday. So today's Saturday. The polls are not open this weekend, but you can go back and vote on Tuesday. Excuse me. I can't talk today. Forgive me, y'all. Oscar, you're asking Democrats to make you their nominee. When we vote in the primaries, Republicans vote for their own, Democrats vote for their own, and we're selecting who's going to be our best champion going into the November election. Why should Democrats vote for you?
Because I'm a person of the people. First off, I'm not part of some sort of political elite class or a person who came from a ton of money or anything like that. It's interesting, right? I represent the average person. I told you a little bit about myself in this beginning of the segment. I have 2 kids here. My wife is also a child of immigrants. Both of her parents are from Mexico. And, she lived in her father's mechanic shop for a little while here in San Antonio. It's still here. And, I think we represent what the Democratic Party is, and that's the party of the average person. That's the party of the working person. We're not the party of the 1%.
Sure.
And so if we want a champion, if we want someone who is going to represent what our ideals and our values are, then I'm easily the best person to be the pick.
Let me ask you about some specific questions. Where do you stand on criminalizing poverty, bail bond reform, making those types of changes? I mean, we have all Democrat judges, mainly all Democrat judges. We have a Democrat sheriff. If you'd get elected, you'd be a Democrat district attorney. What is your take on creating change in the bail bond system? Or do you think it's fine just the way it is?
Okay, so we have poverty, bail reform, and then you had another.
No, just bail bond reform. Yeah, you take all of these things into account. And they all play into poverty and the criminalization of poverty or decriminalization of poverty, those types of things. What is your perspective of bail bonds and bail bonds?
So I'll speak on that issue. The criminal justice system should not see people as first class or second class in any way, right? And the reality is that, the way that bail is established, there are some people who have access to bail and some people who do not, based on their socioeconomic status. My thought on bail reform is the reality is that a person is accused of a criminal offense. That is, they have not been proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt at that point. So they are entitled to that bail. They're entitled to be free while that charge is pending. We have a great system. If we need to put someone on electronic monitoring, then that's fine. But we should not have people just incarcerated because they're unable to pay. We have the ability, especially in 2026, to be able to monitor people to make sure that they're going to come back to court. Obviously, there are some exceptions where people, should have higher bonds based on the nature of the offense. But when we're talking about low-level offenses, the reality, and like we spoke about earlier in this podcast, is our population is growing and we have limited resources, and it makes no sense for someone to be in custody for a simple drug possession or a theft case when it costs $75 a day to house someone.
Minimum.
Yeah. Right. Minimum. And that's just your base.
Or you add medications, mental health issues, all that other good stuff.
Right. And so when you think about it that way, someone goes and steals something from Walmart for $200 or $300 and then they're in custody for 30 days, that's not justice. It's not a best way to use our resources. Or, someone who's got, a gram or two of narcotics, again, still a criminal offense, but keeping them in custody for 30, 45 days, it's just not equaling out. And when we have these limited resources, we need to figure out what's the best way that we can use those resources.
Speaking of limited resources, what most people don't realize, and I've said this before on the show, is that the county jail is the largest provider of mental health care in the states. And that's not just Bexar County, that's all across the state. And so when people get incarcerated for having issues of mental health, right? They're homeless due to mental health issues, those types of things. They end up in the jail, which often results in having medical issues. You talked about it costing $75 a day. As we said, that's before they have any medical issues. And then we have people that die in the jail because they are receiving care and not receiving care, and it just becomes a back and forth. What is your thought on dealing with the mental health crisis that we have all across the state, but specifically here in Bexar County?
So, it's important for, each and every prosecutor to look at each case that comes in essentially in 4 categories, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you look at each case that way, so we have 10,000 new felony cases every single year, right? And that's not including all the misdemeanors that we have. And so the first category of case that I like to think about is, is this a young person who did a stupid mistake, right? But they're redeemable. And then the second category is this a person who is a good, productive member of society, but for a lapse in judgment, they've made a mistake and they're redeemable. And so the third category that I like to kind of conceptualize this is someone who has maybe a drug issue or a mental health issue, but they're redeemable, right? They haven't committed a violent offense, right? And then your fourth category are your individuals who they hurt children, they break into our homes. Those are where our resources need to be expanded when we're looking at long-term incarceration, right? That's that fourth category. So we're focusing right now, what we're talking about is this third category, people who have substance abuse issues or they have mental health issues, they're nonviolent, but they just keep getting in this cycle. What we need to do is, as the district attorney, again, this is all about communication and collaboration. All about communication and collaboration with our community partners. I think that we need to expand our diversion programs at the district attorney's office to not only include what we have in the pretrial diversion, but also those that have substance abuse, those that have mental health issues, and those that are 25 and under, because we know that the human brain doesn't fully develop, as far as the frontal lobe, about understanding consequences of actions until we're 25. But someone who commits an offense or a lapse of judgment at 19, 20 years old, their trajectory of their life is severely altered. The reality is that we need to, as a district attorney's office, step up and make sure that the people who do return to our community, again, 98% of the people that come through the district attorney's office will return to the community in which they offended. And we don't want to put them in a worse position, especially people who have mental health or substance abuse issues. And when we could have changed their trajectory of their life by expanding our diversion programs, having them get access to education and services in the community.
No, that's awesome. I think it's important that we're looking at cases on an individual basis. And I appreciate your perspective and saying that you want to look at them in different areas. Oscar, you are running in this election. How can people learn more about you?
You can go to my website, OscarSalinas4DA.com. My Instagram is the same thing. And I have Facebook also.
You're on
yeah, I am on the grid. So my wife manages all that stuff. I'm not too much into social media myself.
Well, very good. Oscar, what do you want folks to know about you before you head out?
What I want people to know most of all is, I'm doing this and I'm running because I want this office to be the best that it can be. We have a great community that we live in. We're a diverse community. We are a growing community because people like San Antonio. We have a lot of things to do for our kids, for our families. There are great restaurants here. And in order for our community to continue thriving, we need to make sure that our DA's office is fair, effective, and efficient. And it cannot be that way with someone who does not have a understanding of what the day-to-day life is like of a prosecutor. Sure. I'm doing this because I want the office to be the best that it can be. And I believe that it can be if we have someone that can have that open line of communication with all our law enforcement partners, and that can make sure that we are pursuing the cases that we need to pursue beyond a reasonable doubt. And we reject the cases that we cannot prove.
No, excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Oscar. You're listening to Plática Política. Be sure to learn more about Oscar Salinas and this race for district attorney, and y'all go out and vote. We'll be right back. Atención, damas y caballeros, it's your turn to make a difference. The primary elections are going on and every single vote counts. This is when Republicans and Democrats head to the polls and select who's going to face off in the November general election. Este es su futuro, your voice, your choice, your future. Find your polling place and show up. Early voting is May 17th through the 27th, and Election Day is March 3rd. If you're registered to vote, you can cast your ballot at any voting center in Bexar County with your state-issued identification. So get ready, get set, and let's hit the polls. Vayan a votar en la elección primaria. We are back on Plática Política with a good friend of mine, Sharon Samelson Massiatte. She's got a fabulous organization called Mobile Education Center for All. How are you doing today, Sharon?
I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you this morning?
I'm excited to learn about MECA, as you call it for short, right? Mobile Education Center for All. What does that mean? What is mobile education?
So Mobile Education Center for All is literally just that. It is a mobile education center for all students. Okay. But we narrow it down kind of a little bit, right? So when I decided that this is something that I wanted to do, I wanted to kind of focus in and hone in on a specific group of students. So when I was a teacher, I had all types of kids, special ed kids, general ed kids, behavioral children. So I noticed that the only group that kind of got left out were the kids who were chronically absent from school.
Okay.
So once I kind of got the idea rolling, I needed to, I guess, kind of just like pick a niche, right? So these kiddos that I always had in my class, I always had like 2 or 3 kids that religiously were absent at maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Okay. And I was always told, don't worry about them. They're not going to show up anyway. Wow. But
so they would fall through the cracks.
Yeah, they fall through the cracks. Who worries about them then? So when I started MECA, I told my husband that I wanted to kind of focus on them so that while they're out for whatever reason they're out for, I can kind of try to help bridge that gap so that when we transition them back in, or when whatever issue fixes itself, or the family issues or the medical issues or whatever goes away, then they go back to school and they're not too far behind.
Yeah.
Because
how do people get a hold of you?
So they can go through our website. If they hear about us, we have a lot of word of mouth referrals, but we also work through different districts. Communities and schools has been a really big help. So if there is a communities and schools representative on campus, they can always reach out to them, their counselors, their admin, however.
That's interesting. And so you get referrals from the schools? And from CIS, which I was a CIS kid growing up.
Were you? That's exciting.
I was. I love CIS. I can speak about them all day. Anyway,
they are amazing.
So you get the in-school referrals. Can people also reach out and hire you, or are you a nonprofit? What does that look like?
We are a nonprofit, so our services are free to the families. If they're already facing challenges within the family, I didn't want tutoring to be an extra anything. So we work with the families for free, and we go directly to the students' homes so that they don't have to worry about the transportation, and there's no added barrier for them to get an education.
That's exciting. That's awesome that you do that. What is your website?
My website is www.meccaconnect.org, and Mecca is MECA.
Can people go on there and not obviously they can learn about you, but can they also I want to call it RSVP because I'm always throwing parties.
Yes, they can RSVP. So I have a spot on there where they can send in referrals. They can leave a comment, send a referral. I do have an intake form that I send the parents. Once I get the referrals, I have an intake form that I send out, and the process is as easy as it can possibly be.
What a unique way to fill a gap in our community.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you are a nonprofit. So you have a fundraiser coming up tomorrow, Sunday.
Sunday is our very first official fundraiser, and okay. I am a tennis fanatic. I do like to play tennis a lot in my free time. So we decided to do our fundraiser as a tennis tournament. So we have a tennis tournament on Sunday at Alamo Heights Tennis Center. It starts at 9 a.m. It is free for spectators to come out and watch some fun amateur tennis.
Yeah, I mean, I have one good eye and two good hands, so the balls and the rackets work for me. But people can come, they can participate, they can they still sign up to be in the tournament, or can they just pay to spectate?
They don't. So registration for the tournament has closed. We don't have to pay to be a spectator, but we will have merchandise for sale, and we'll have raffle tickets for sale. We have several fun raffle items that we'll be giving out.
Well, that's exciting. You can learn about Sharon and her Mobile Education Center for All by visiting meccaconnect.org. Please go on there if you have a gap in education, or if you know that, hey, somebody's sick, right? They can come out and reach out to you.
Yes. And it doesn't just have to be sick. Any challenge, as long as it's not the kiddo's fault that they are missing school, then they will qualify for our free services.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for the work you're doing, Sharon. I look forward. I'm going to come out and join you guys on Sunday. I'm not going to swing a tennis ball, but I will eat from a snack bar. So
we'll have to be the ball boy.
All right. Visit meccaconnect.org to learn more about this amazing organization. We appreciate you tuning in with us. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hello, Bexar County. This is Sheriff Javier Salazar with my good friend, Mónica Ramirez Alcántara.
Hola, San Antonio.
There's a very important election going on right now.
That's right. I'm respectfully asking for your vote as your next district clerk. I'm running to make the courthouse more accessible for you.
Please go out and vote Mónica Ramirez Alcántara for district clerk.
And don't forget, if you're registered to vote, you can vote at any voting center in Bexar County with your state-issued identification.
Remember, go out and vote Mónica in the Democratic primary.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you, Bexar County. I'm Mónica Ramirez Alcántara, and I'm respectfully asking for your vote.
Political advertising paid for by Monica Ramirez Alcantara for Bexar County District Clerk.
And we're back on Plática Política. You're listening to KEDA Radio Jalapeno, whether you're in Gonzales, Uvalde, Travis County, or Atascosa. We've got an important topic for you today. Joining me this morning is Melina Espiritu Azocar. She's the president of the Northside American Federation of Teachers. How are you doing, Melina?
Hi, y'all. I'm doing great today. It's a lovely day out here in San Antonio.
It's Saturday. Early voting is no longer going on, but election day is on Tuesday. And some would say that public schools, public education is on the ballot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think absolutely public education is on the ballot. What we know is public education is exceptionally political, no matter what somebody will or will not tell you. And we are very excited to be heavily involved in this election cycle. These primaries are really, really important. And we need to make sure we're electing folks that are going to support public education in Texas, and that they're going to support public educators in Texas. There's a lot of work that has to be done to get Texas where it needs to be in pub ed. And a lot of that work needs to be done in the Capitol. And we need to make sure that we've got the right folks there doing their jobs. And then locally, I mean, I think what we know is our local races are some of those most important races when it comes down to supporting public educators. And so we're excited. We're excited to see what March 3rd brings. And we're looking forward to getting some pro pub ed folks in there. And definitely hopefully the blue wave is a true blue wave coming through.
Who knew that teaching kindergartners how to read, or even whether or not they should have free lunch, would be so controversial?
Oh, it's wild, right? Like, I mean,
Crazy.
Feeding children should be standard. Everyone should be on board with ensuring that young kids can read, can write, and that they have food in their belly and they're prepared to have a great day at school every day. That should not be controversial. Yet we have continuously seen that some folks don't feel that. And those folks should not be serving here in Texas.
You know, don't tell me you're a Christian, a Catholic, or religious person if you're arguing about whether or not a kid should eat. That is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Anyway, I will not get on that high horse because that is one I can easily jump on. Melina, you all have gotten involved this election cycle. You've gotten involved heavily in certain races. Which races are those? Are you Talarico or Crockett? Have you picked a side there?
Well, we have decided that both of those folks are amazing. We're really excited to see either one of them get through these primaries. And so, and then we are very much looking forward to supporting whoever that person is. And so we did not make a particular endorsement in that race, but we are proud of both of them. And both of them have been very supportive of public education. And we can't wait to see who makes it on the other side of this.
They're both phenomenal human beings, and I don't know that we will make a mistake by making a choice in that race. I will have to say, Melina, that is the most politically correct response I've ever gotten on this show, and I think you're ready to be the next governor of Texas.
Okay, there you go. I know about all that, Robert.
All right. We'll move on. Let's talk about the races you did endorse in. There's some state representative races that you all got involved in. You said something that's really powerful is that the biggest fight for public education happens at the Texas Capitol. Tell me about that.
So these folks at the Texas Capitol are deciding how public education is funded, what's being taught, what provisions are being put in to prevent this cycle. This last session was pretty rough. So what provisions they put in place to prevent teachers from being able to teach what they need to do, teach truthfulness. And so this legislative session was rough. This last one, it was rough. And so we need to make sure that we are being supportive of folks that are going to make some changes. That are going to properly fund public education. That are going to stop any expansion of a voucher that's going to harm pub ed. And that are going to put a cap on the continuous spread of charter schools that have gone on here in our city and have been quite harmful to students and to public education. So we're excited. I think some of the really exciting races for us are races where we see labor candidates running, where we see union people running for office. And I think
there's been a huge amount of people for union representatives running. I just want to say one thing before we can continue. If you wonder what your state representatives do, is they determine what type of funding and what type of things public schools get, to the extent that I have a friend who's a teacher, and she tells me that she has to scan all of her library books that she puts in her class and upload those to make sure that the state is okay with that. Is that correct?
New laws, new bills, new expectation. And unfortunately, even classroom libraries are having to be completely approved. It's wild. What has occurred is absolutely wild. And, parents have always had an opportunity in our Texas public schools to make decisions regarding their children. So if they don't want their children to read something, they don't have to read that. And that's nothing new. That's not a change. Nothing's been different. That's been going on for decades. And so the idea that somehow suddenly teachers are not working in the best interest of children is just also the reason why we want to make sure that we're incredibly involved politically, because it's just not true. Teachers love students. They love the job that they do. Public educators have always been able to do a fantastic job in educating our young people, and they continue to do that fantastic job. And they definitely don't need our legislators over their shoulder watching what is in their classroom library.
I don't need a person in Austin telling my Edgewood ISD teacher or my Northside teacher or my SASD teacher how to run their classroom. We're going to take a quick break.
Never been in the classroom before.
Say that again?
Especially somebody that's never been in the classroom before.
Oh my goodness. Let's not even go down that path. So we're going to take a quick break, and then Melina's got some chisme on some good politicians that we should, or even some we shouldn't vote for. We'll be right back.
Soy Mari Sánchez Belú y les pido su voto para ser su próxima secretaria del Condado de Béjar. En este preciso momento, los depredadores del Internet están trabajando para obtener acceso a su información personal, como seguro social y fechas de nacimiento. Como veterana, he dedicado los últimos 20 años a proteger a las personas y su información. Y como su próxima secretaria del condado, mi primer prioridad será garantizar su seguridad. Soy Mari Sánchez Belú y respetuosamente les pido su voto.
Anuncio político pagado por Mari Sánchez Belú, candidata para secretaria del Condado de Béjar. And we're back right here on Plática Política. We're going to talk a little chisme with Melina Espiritu Azocar. Melina, you all have taken some positions. Northside American Federation of Teachers has taken positions in certain races. And I want to know why and why not. So Texas House District 125, you all got involved in that race, correct?
Yeah, we've decided that we are endorsing Adrian Reyna. Adrian Reyna is a school teacher. He's a union member and an executive board member with the San Antonio Alliance. And he understands public education issues. He understands what teachers need because he's in those classrooms every single day. And we feel like he is absolutely the best candidate to fight for public education in Austin. And we're excited to have endorsed him and be supporting him through these primaries. And we're excited to see what happens on the 3rd.
That's an interesting race. Texas House District 125 has been held by State Representative Ray Lopez. Interestingly enough, in that race, embattled and former Constable Michelle Barrientos Vela, who resigned in order to run for sheriff and lost, is running in that race. So is a young man who's the former chief of staff to Representative Ray Lopez, Donovan Rodriguez. So that's an interesting race. You said you all were heavily involved in Texas House District 120?
Yeah, so Texas House 120, we're very excited to support Jordan Brown in that area. And he is a union member of ours and also a public school teacher. He teaches littles. He's an elementary teacher for special needs students. And it's the same thing. I mean, our continued focus is who's going to do the best job around public education in Austin, and definitely teachers understand what's needed for public education in Austin, and they will do the best job. And teachers are amazing. They can do anything. They are always successful. They create amazing lessons with zero actual resources. And so they can literally make miracles. And so we're very, very excited to get behind Jordan and to get behind Adrian. And some might say that they don't have, they're inexperienced or they don't know. I can guarantee you that they are very well and connected and engaged with the community. They are ready to learn. They're ready to jump in, not even just feet first, all themselves first. And we're very we're very excited and looking forward to having teachers over there defending public education, working in Austin to make sure that our public educators are supported, valued, and that our students are getting what they need to be successful. The majority of Texans send their kids to public schools, to traditional public school systems and across Texas, and particularly in our city. Working people send their kids to public schools, and we need public educators to get into Austin and really ensure that our kids are getting what they need. So we're really excited about Jordan. We're really excited about Adrian. Those two races for the primaries are particularly important. We've got all kinds of races after the primaries that we know we're going to have to focus on, but those two races right now during primary season are particularly important to us.
I think it's important to note that in Texas House District 120, that is a seat that is currently held by an incumbent, Barbara Gervin Hawkins. I think it's interesting that you all endorsed an opponent to someone that's sitting in office, but I think it also speaks to the integrity of the process that you all follow, because it also says, hey, we're just going to hold our elected officials accountable. I know I've gotten involved in a lot of primary races over the last 19 years, and people always get mad. They're like, why are you running somebody against an incumbent? And I always say, not every Democrat's a good Democrat. And sometimes it's okay to challenge the status quo, right? I know we love our mijos and our mijas and our tios and the tias, the folks that we see in office, but it's okay to challenge the status quo and to say, hey, you've been there long enough. We've seen your work, and every 2 years, our state representatives get the opportunity to ask for their job, right, and to interview. Yeah. On the local level, you've gotten involved in some races as well, right?
Yep.
You sure have. You sure have. Which ones are those?
We have. So we're really excited to support. We're really excited.
That's a leading question, Melina. I'm teasing. I love you, girl.
Don't answer it like that. Answer it right. So we're really excited that we're supported for Bexar County Clerk Mari Sanchez Ballou.
Also challenging an incumbent. That was interesting. What was there a particular reason? So let me ask you this. This is a general question. I won't go race by race.
Sure.
But why would you challenge an incumbent, generally speaking?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. This might be a little controversial the way I say it, maybe, but what I've said is we shouldn't be giving out stickers to people because they vote like Democrats. Like, if you're a Democrat or supporting a Dem, then you shouldn't get an extra anything just because you did the one thing you were supposed to do. So what we need to do is we need to ensure that we're looking beyond just the surface level, and we're making sure that the folks that we put into office are answering to the community, that they're willing to engage with the community, that they're willing to take hard steps when things are difficult. And my biggest, something that I think is super important is that if there's a problem, admit the problem. If there's an issue, admit the issue. And we are not all perfect. And we're all learning and growing. And so it's important to do those things. And we feel sometimes that there's change is good. Change might be hard, but definitely change is good. And so, it's an exciting time right now to get some good new blood into these races. Yeah.
I love that.
And ensure that our community is valued and heard, and that we're doing what's right by the people of San Antonio.
Because both the district clerk and the county clerk, those two races, they're local races, and most people don't really pay attention to. You all have endorsed the incumbent. So you said you endorsed Mari Sanchez Ballou. She's running for Bexar County Clerk against Lucy Clark, and then you also endorsed Monica. Is that correct?
Monica Ramirez Cantara. And with Monica too, I mean, Monica was obviously the Democrat Party chair here in San Antonio. She was very supportive of us as we were working through our school board elections. And we are very, very appreciative of that. And she understood and why it was really important for the party to be involved in the local school board elections. And so, those things stand out to me as something incredibly important. Northside AFT is really proud that we have a working people's majority on our school board. We've got folks on that school board that understand working people issues, that are working people. And that didn't happen without a lot of work and a lot of uphill battles and a lot of support from folks that we needed support from. And Monica was one of those folks. So we're really proud to support her as she has supported us.
No, that's awesome. Are there any other did you take positions in the DA or the county judge race?
We did not take a position in the DA race. We did.
That was a hard one.
It was.
Like
there's a lot of folks running.
Some people keep asking me who I'm voting for, and I'm like, I'm going to get involved in the runoff. Like the runoff. So for those that don't know, the runoff election happens. So we have the March primary, March 3rd, and if no one gets 50% plus one vote, which is considered a majority, then you go on to a runoff election. So the top 2 vote getters will go. In the case of the district attorney's race, there are 8 people running. So statistically speaking, anytime you have 4 and up candidates, because the lack of participation that's out there, you usually end up in a runoff. And so that we're definitely looking at a runoff. Is there anybody you don't like in the district attorney's race?
Tell you that on the radio.
Tell me on the radio. Okay, fine. I'll move on. County judge. Are you supporting anybody?
We endorsed Ron Nirenberg for county judge.
Did you really?
We did. Yes.
That's interesting. That's surprising. I love Ron. I'm voting for Ron. I'll say it on the radio. I don't give it. Anyway, I can't say that word either. I can't say a lot of stuff on the radio, so I have to be nice.
People paying attention to what you say, sir.
Jesus and the FCC are watching me, and so there's that. So I have to watch out. Having said that, Ron Nirenberg, what sticks out? Again, challenging an incumbent. I'm pretty impressed by the fact that teachers are challenging all these incumbents. I mean, that's a very strong position to be in.
Yeah, I think, certainly I think our local has grown. We're really proud of what we've done. We chartered in 2018, so we're a fairly young local, and quite quickly we rose to one of the largest locals in the city. And so with much power comes much responsibility, if you will, and educators across San Antonio are voting, and they understand the importance of politics, especially as it is related to public education. And they are not going to stand by and say status quo works, because status quo doesn't work. And so sometimes that means we have to push back, and we've got to support, not necessarily support an incumbent, and look at somebody that's running. And so we're excited about what we're doing here, and we're excited about seeing some change come in. And we were proud to support Ron. And we're not the other local union that has supported Ron Nirenberg for county judge. Part of our issue, like the discussions that our folks had and our members had, was looking at the growth across the county outside of the city limits, actually, because our school district very much touches that area, and some of the largest schools right now that Northside has as far as student numbers are actually out in the county outside the city limits. And what we're concerned about is infrastructure keeping up with the kind of growth that's out there. How long these people are having, how long the kids are having to sit on the bus because the roads are not what they need to be to get them to here and from. And so those are kind of things that were discussions when we made endorsements, and we didn't feel that we saw what we needed to see over the last few years. And so we're excited to support Ron and hope that we see some changes.
That's interesting. You said something that I would have never even thought was a consideration. Like, how long do kids have to sit on the school bus?
Oh, we know. It's a long time.
That's crazy. I would have never considered that. Like, I think school lunches, I think library books, those types of things, but that's really interesting. I'm sure that's a metric you all track.
So our members, we have members, all kinds of working folk members in our school district, and some of those very amazing folks that are members of ours are also school bus drivers and the bus assistants on the buses, and they are also sitting on those buses alongside those little young people, and they talk to us about that, and we have conversations around it and how difficult it is to get to and from places and what the challenges they face are. And so, we're always a listening ear, always touching base with our members. We have organizers out on work sites all the time, and we definitely have the beat of the working folks of Northside ISD.
That's awesome. Thank you for the work you're doing, Melina. I am so proud to know you and call you friend. I've known Melina since you started off on the board and then now have taken over as president. I think that's fabulous. You're doing an amazing job, and I started
as a teacher in the classroom. That's
okay,
what
okay, that was on me. That's on me. You started as a teacher in the classroom,
right.
Which is
always a teacher, always a teacher.
That's
so
right.
I'm definitely proud to serve our members every day. They elect me and put me here, but I never forget, the work that classroom teachers do, and have been there, done it, and proud of that work. And it's some of the best work I've ever done in my whole life has been in classrooms.
Teachers are the best human beings on earth. Teachers and nurses. I will tell you, one of my favorite cousins, not because I don't have a favorite cousin, is a spec teacher, and she tells me all the stories. And so and of course I remember the teachers that I grew up with, Miss Padilla and Miss Williams, and all sorts of folks. Anyway, I will not go bore you all with memory lane. Melina, is there anything you want folks to know before you head out?
I mean, the last thing I'll leave you with is teachers are powerful, educators are powerful. We can't do any of our work in the classrooms as teachers without custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, and support staff. And so we're here, we're voting, we're proud, we are excited to make changes here in San Antonio. And so, yeah, that's what I'll leave you with. Educators are loud and proud.
Absolutely. Go out and vote. Shout out to my tia Dora. She is my favorite tia. She knows it and everybody else does. She started off as a cafeteria worker and then became a cafeteria manager and now is in support, like in a supervisor. And so I know the work that they do. And my grandfather was a custodian. So I love it. I love it. I love the work that people who dedicate their lives to making our children's lives better do, and they're some of the most important people in the world. Anywho, we will be right back. We're talking on Plática Política about all things political. Election day is Tuesday, March 3rd. Make a plan to vote. We'll be right back.
Estás escuchando Plática Política. Quédate con nosotros para enterarte de las últimas noticias, análisis políticos y un poco de chisme. Aquí en Queda Radio Jalapeño.
Así es. Escúchanos en directo, síguenos en las redes sociales o sintoniza donde quiera que escuches tus podcasts favoritos.
Good morning, San Antonio. You are listening to Plática Política, and we are joined this morning by none other than James Talarico. I appreciate you joining us. I understand that you're trapped on a campaign bus somewhere in Texas.
I am. We are on our Take Back Texas tour. We're going all over the state. We're going to big cities and small towns, every region of our beautiful state, because we're not writing off any voter. We're not writing off any community. That's how we build a big enough coalition to win Texas in November.
On this tour, what are you hearing from voters? Are people excited? Are they energized?
I mean, the momentum is unbelievable. I can't tell you how many young voters come up to me and say they're going to be voting for the very first time. How many Republicans tell me they're going to be voting for a Democrat for the first time. So there is something happening in our state, and I'm so excited to be a part of this movement.
You know, I always tell folks when you run for office, I've been involved in campaigns in the past, and it's like when you run for office, you run with a certain mentality, a certain thought process of what you want to communicate. But what are you hearing from voters?
I'm hearing about two things over and over again. One is costs. People are so concerned about this cost of living crisis. It's crushing working families all over our state. It's not just the price of groceries, it's the price of housing and childcare and prescription drugs. And these high prices are locking people out of the American dream. The second thing I hear about, which is related to costs, is corruption. People are fed up with the fact that our government only seems to work for the ultra wealthy and doesn't seem to work for regular people anymore. And so these two things are connected because we have a cost of living crisis because we have a corruption crisis. We need a government of, by, and for the people, not a government of, by, and for the billionaires. That's the only way we're going to lower costs and make life affordable in Texas.
You've been a state representative for quite some time. What made you jump into this particular race?
Well, you know, I'm in my fourth term in the state house. I've been able to bring Democrats and Republicans together to pass major bills to lower the cost of housing, lower the cost of childcare, lower the cost of prescription drugs, including insulin. And so I want to take that track record of delivering for working people to the U.S. Senate. We need a U.S. Senator who's going to represent all of us, not just billionaire mega donors.
No, absolutely. What kind of priorities should we expect from you once you get into office? You're running and you're pushing hard. What can people expect from James Talarico leadership?
Well, I think before we were able to bring down the cost of groceries and bring down the cost of housing and childcare, we're going to have to pass comprehensive political reform. What does that mean? That's getting big money out of our politics. It's banning corporate PACs. It's banning super PACs. It's banning members of Congress from trading stocks and enriching themselves while they're in office. We have got to clean up our government so that we can actually make progress on all these other issues that are hurting working people in our state.
No, absolutely. One of the biggest promises that Trump made when he first was getting into office was that he was going to lower groceries immediately and everything. The cost of eggs was going to go down. And we just haven't seen that, right?
That's
and
right.
People are concerned and they feel like they've been lied to. A lot of folks voted for Trump and they believed in this farce that he was selling, and it turned out to not be true. And so how do you re-engage those people? And what do you say to folks that are just so disenfranchised by our politicians?
Well, not only have prices not gone down, they've actually gone up under the president's administration because of his crazy tariffs. These are driving up prices at the grocery store. It's pricing out small business owners. It's hurting ranchers and farmers across Texas. So these have been disastrous economic policies from the administration. We have to reverse these crazy tariffs, and we've got to start actually focusing ourselves on how we're going to bring down these costs. And I want people who voted for the president in 2024 to feel welcomed in my campaign, because if you are fed up with the extremism and the corruption in our government, then you should join us, no matter how you voted in 2024. We are extending an open hand to all of our neighbors in Texas to build a movement for working people in our state.
Now, that's amazing. I mean, the only way that we're going to flip this state is that if we have a candidate that is going to engage with both the right and the left. Once we get into that November election, we've got to make sure that people from the center come out and people who are like-minded come out and vote, which is super, super important. Representative Talarico, there has been a lot of fear throughout South Texas about ICE and not just South Texas, right? All across Texas. People are afraid of ICE and they're afraid of all this craziness that is being brought in by Republicans. How do we quell those fears? What kind of changes can you make?
Well, when I was a public school teacher on the west side of San Antonio, I taught a lot of undocumented students. And those students were my most patriotic students. They understood something about this country that a lot of us who are native born forget, that this is supposed to be the land of opportunity. This is supposed to be where dreams come true. And they believed in this country even when this country didn't believe in them. So the fact that we have a secret police force, masked men in unmarked vehicles terrorizing my students and their family members is unconscionable. ICE is out of control. And we're seeing it all across our state. We're seeing it all across our country. We should be cracking down on the cartels, not our communities. We should be deporting gang members, not small business owners. We should be hunting down human traffickers, not moms and babies. And so I think we need a U.S. Senator who's going to fight against ICE and stop these abuses of power. We need to impeach Secretary Kristi Noem. We have to prosecute agents who have abused their power. And we've got to pass comprehensive immigration reform where we secure our border and provide a pathway to citizenship for our undocumented neighbors who have been here for many years.
Absolutely. This country was born and was raised on the backs of immigrants, right?
That's
it's
right.
Those people that have made this country the strength that it is, right? Folks that are willing to put their hand to the plow and do the work.
Yep.
Senator,
that's exactly right.
I called you Senator. I'm speaking it into existence. We're speaking it into existence. Speaking things into existence. Faith has played a major part in this campaign, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I always tell people that I'm a Democrat because I'm a Christian. How has that shaped your politics? How has your faith shaped the way you're running this race?
Well, my granddad was a Baptist preacher in South Texas. My family's from South Texas. My mom grew up in Laredo on our southern border. And he told me when I was real little that we are supposed to follow the two commandments that Jesus gave us: love God and love neighbor. And that second commandment is what motivated me to go into public service. First as a public school teacher on the west side of San Antonio, now as a public official in the Texas House. I am trying to love my neighbor through public policy, trying to lower the cost of their housing, their groceries, their childcare, their prescription drugs. And I think that's what we need in our politics. We need servant leaders who are focused on loving all of our neighbors and making their lives easier and better. That's what I'm trying to do in the Texas House, and it's what I want to do in the U.S. Senate.
No, that's amazing. Let me ask you, what are your priorities? First 100 days in office, what does that look like for you?
I think it's focused on bringing down costs and tackling corruption. Those are the two most important issues that are facing this state and facing this country. I have a track record of bringing Democrats and Republicans together to pass major legislation, and I want to do that in the U.S. Senate on behalf of all Texans, whether they're Democrats, Independents, or Republicans.
There is a very polarizing nature in our politics right now. How do you reach across the aisle to get things done in this crazy climate that we're in?
Well, the reason our politics sucks right now is it's not any one politician, it's the system itself.
Yeah.
Think about who owns the 24-hour corporate media that treats news as entertainment. Think about who runs the social media algorithms that keep us angry and divided. I mean, a handful of billionaires have redesigned our politics for their own profit. They pit us against each other on an hourly basis. They divide us by party, by race, by gender, by religion. So we don't notice that they are picking our pockets, that they are closing our schools, gutting our health care, raising taxes on all of us while they cut taxes for themselves. It's the oldest strategy in the world, divide and conquer. And it's why we are running a campaign to take on those billionaires and take power back for working people. The real fight in this country is not left versus right. It's top versus bottom.
No, absolutely. I have to ask, you brought up the campaign. So what's your response when people say Democrats can't win statewide in Texas?
I think they're wrong. You know, Texas Democrats helped build this state, from LBJ to Lloyd Benson to Ann Richards to Bob Bullock and Barbara Jordan. And so I think people are seeing the consequences of one-party rule in Texas. Republicans have controlled our state for 30 years, and it has led to more extremism and more corruption. We need a check on that power. And we're seeing a growing backlash in our state to that extremism and that corruption. I can't tell you how many Republicans are coming up to me and saying they're going to be voting for me in this election. So we've got to bring people together across the partisan divide so that we can build a government of, by, and for the people again.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Representative Talarico. What do you want folks to know before you go?
Well, before I was a politician, I was a public school teacher on the west side of San Antonio. That's where I learned the meaning of public service. I ran for office in the first place to help my students, and they are the reason that I'm still running and why I'm running for the U.S. Senate. So I want to fight for kids like them all over San Antonio, all over South Texas, and all over this great state.
That is awesome. We certainly appreciate that. But I can't let you go without asking one of the most important questions that we ask every politician that comes, because I really do believe this question shapes how we view you as a candidate and as a person. So, Representative Talarico, the question is, what's your favorite taco?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would have to say a bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast taco on flour.
Nice, nice. All right. Thank you so much, Representative Talarico, for joining us right here on Plática Política. Whether you're listening from Uvalde or Corpus or Laredo, we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much, Representative Talarico. Y'all go out and vote.
Thank you for having me.
I'm voting for our future.
For my family.
I'm voting because my life depends on it. Listen, it's time to reclaim your vote. Whatever your reason, whatever your issue, just vote.
I'm voting. Are you?
Go to reclaimyourvote.org for more.
This message is paid for by the National Urban League.
All right, San Antonio, thank you so much for joining us on this week's edition of Plática Política. As we've been talking this entire time, early voting has concluded, but Election Day in the primary election is this Tuesday, March 3rd, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can vote anywhere in Bexar County with your state-issued driver's license, identification, or your military ID. Listen, the primaries are one of the most important elections around because in the primary, Democrats and Republicans each go and vote for the person in their party that they want to challenge each other in the November election. Less than 14% of registered voters in Bexar County alone. Listen, we're a county of 2 million. Less than 14% actually participate in the primary election. And so we need you to go out, make your voice heard, and help select who's going to face, if you're a Democrat, who's going to face a Republican in November. If you're a Republican, who's going to face the Democrat in the November election. We got some important decisions to make, everything from the United States Senate race with Jasmine Crockett and James Talarico, all the way down to our local elections. Shout out to Monica Alcantara and Mari Sanchez Blue, who are running for clerks. There's a county clerk and a district clerk. Study your ballot. You can go to elections.bear.org to see the sample ballot. You can also go to Plática Política on Facebook and see links to the sample ballots and other interviews that we've done, so you can get educated on who's running for office and who's asking for your election. Listen, don't take my word for it. Do your own research, do your homework, get involved, vote like your future depends on it, because guess what? It does. God bless you guys. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you around Bexar County.